No, nothing wrong can be said in the book club, you know?
Yeah,
No
You
wrong
feel me
statement.
though?
No wrong statements.
You guys feel me though? Like, I mean, I don't know. It just actually, I think 1 and 2 are together.
I feel you, Ezra.
Yeah, thank you, Cindy. Okay, sorry. Let's
well,
go.
like,
Let's go.
no, I think every chapter is insanely important and insanely profound, and not to sound occultist, but I think this is a very important holy text. Holy text. But yeah, let's get into chapter 2, the origin of alienation, anxiety, and narcissism. And I want to start off by saying, you know, due to my European mindset, I've experienced all 3 of these. So, yeah, I used to be a huge maniac, sociopath, narcissistic. I used to like, you know, think I was going to be like the next serial killer. You know, I was going to top Jeffrey Dahmer. I was going to top them all. You know, but you know, I didn't. You know, and why did I think killing was fun and cool? Because I grew up watching white people kill on TV for fun, you know. So Natural Born Killers, The Reservoir Dogs, Pulp Fiction, you know, white people killing for fun. So I thought, okay, that looks fun. I guess I'll do that because it's cool. And if you understand white supremacy, this is how we're supposed to be trained. I also due to a lot of listening to rap music as a young child, I definitely didn't mind going to prison. I thought prison was like a cool thing to experience. I thought like, you know, I go to prison and you know, it just makes you hard, you know. So I grew up really fucking confused and really like deceived to like what was expected of me because of this system and this book and this chapter. It was like, oh wow, really, really, really allowed me to understand some things about my prior thinking in my youth.
I would love to like just go around and hear everyone's thoughts on this chapter.
I'm just collecting a bit of my thoughts. I don't know where to start. What can I say? Yeah, just like Swal was saying, I feel like I definitely have experienced a lot of these things, and that's why I really like chapter 2, because it was kind of just more clicking, you know, like I think there's something in here that I might have highlighted. I liked how this was more in depth, and it was more in depth about Western culture. I like how it really, because you know, this is like the stuff that you see every day, especially since we basically live in a Western society. Um, I also thought the whole thing about the albinos and African mothers and stuff was a little murky for me. You know, I didn't know how to feel because at a time when I was reading, I was kind of like, so are we like being cursed for all this or something? You know, because yeah, I mean, initially that's what I thought because you know, but the book does go on to say, you know, how that's not actually the case and stuff. So but yeah, I definitely am a huge fan of chapter 2 for sure.
Yeah, man, these albino. I don't think we're cursed. I just think the albino mutants were more clever than we have. We gave them credit for back in the ancient times.
How do you guys feel about the like alienation, anxiety, and narcissism? Like as it like in our society, in people and in ourselves, like do you see it? Does it resonate with you? Like in what ways?
I feel like it connects in a lot of ways. From our technology, from how we use social media to, I mean, our president, like everything just connects so well.
Hmm. I'll say I think a form of alienation I had like experienced, especially was when I came back from Ghana after a couple of years, and I was in elementary school. I was in like 6th grade, and I had like a couple of friends and stuff at school, but I had an accent because I had spent like 2 years out there, so my accent was pretty thick, and I was in class with like a lot of like, my black friends and stuff. Well, I thought they were my friends. We ended up being friends like later online. But, I experienced like just like so much of, I guess you could call it abuse because, everything that I kind of was like, racially like motivated and stuff. Like I got called like a monkey or like my skin was dark and stuff. And it was mainly like my black classmates that were doing this to me. So it's kind of like, yeah, seriously, like I experienced, I would say in elementary school, I experienced a lot of that kind of hate from my like peers, like my black peers and stuff. So that's just reading this chapter kind of like brought me back to that, like that alienation and stuff and anxiety and narcissism. Yeah. So
Yeah, I can.
When I read this chapter, I was just getting mad for some reason, and I felt like alienation and anxiety, narcissism was like given to us. Like even now, I'm like always anxious, and I'm just like, why? And it's because I'm living in this system that I don't belong in and trying to fit in it. And it's just like, so I resonate really well with anxiety when it was talking about just like how it's been developed over time. And it's just like, as I was reading that portion, I was literally thinking like, you gave this to me, like I don't fit here. So how can I get out of here and still like succeed, So I think like the idea of like this separation between like, I don't belong here and like making it known, especially to be less anxious because I'm trying to separate that and stop trying to fit into a society I don't belong in because we have been conditioned to think that way for so long that you have to succeed in the system in order to be like successful, quote unquote. And that's the reason why we have so many people who are successful these days, but they have no in like touch with their black self, right? Yeah. With their African self. They're just so brainwashed that it's just crazy. Like it's just mad. And I see it in myself too. I kind of felt like before I got to my research or even to this area, it's just like I saw myself just like leaving. So yeah. And it's just like another point too that I wanted to bring out when it talked about like the levels of reality and comprehension. I was just like, wow, here we go. And then it talked about like the Western, how it's like, oh, Western culture, Western civilization. And it's like feeding the white mind to think like, hey, this is our world. This is our Western world, our civilization. It's like, no, honey, you stole it. You can go back. No. Sorry.
Oh man. Yeah, thanks for sharing that. And yeah, this graph is really incredible. The level 1 to level 5 graph. Gee, what was I gonna? Well, we see alienation definitely in the entertainment area of people activity. It's always like the lone savior type character. Just think of what's a movie I really liked a lot. What's that movie with freaking Robert De Niro? He has a mohawk eventually.
Taxi Driver.
Taxi Driver. I love that movie. That movie's really about this fucking isolated fucking loser who has to compensate for him being not being weak by getting guns. Yeah, once we understand that white people need guns, have used guns to compensate for their inferiority of not being able to produce color. So this is why they call the gun a great equalizer, and this is why they call each other son of a gun, because they place their genetic power and a gun and not their testicles or their phallic um possessions. So, and like, you know, in that movie Taxi Driver, the character, the main white character, literally is like very narcissistic because he believes that he needs to go and like save like these prostitutes, when like, you know, the most logical thing to do is to maybe call like, you know, the law enforcement agencies about the situation. But no, he goes and gets a shit ton of guns and like goes shooting people. You know, this is the kind of culture we live in, you know, where this is our entertainment. And then we have also things like Fight Club, where like there's also person that is so alone and alienated all the time that he creates a imaginary figure of himself who's totally narcissistic and like it's a cool version of himself. So we see this shit seep into our culture. And then like I remember myself talking to people about Fight Club in high school. I'm like, this is our culture, and we think this is cool, and then we want to be these characters. And I can understand why I fought a lot in high school. I used to play this game called Suicide, where we used to literally beat the shit out of each other for fun. And it's just like, wow, it's just really violent culture because it's a white supremacy thing.
Yeah, I wanted to like on page 19, it says alienation is the very same dynamic that pushes human beings away from respectful and harmonious relationships with the physical environment, leading to pollution and destruction of the planet. Most important, the alienation dynamic forces the individual away from all manifestations of self understanding and self respect, including the most fundamental respect for one's genetic makeup. And I thought that that line really resonated with me personally because I feel super alienated from myself in in this society of like constantly watching shit, constantly being on your phone, never like just being alone with myself, like or my thoughts, and always needing some sort of like stimulation. I feel like as a person, I feel very like I don't. Oh, did you want to say something, Sammy?
Oh, sorry.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I don't know if like you guys feel that way, but like I've like in Yurugu they talk like this other book we're reading, they really talk about how like, you know, human beings like see themselves as part of the universe and like are connected on spiritual levels. And I feel like living in this society that praises like logic and doesn't praise like emotion or spirituality, I feel really disconnected spiritually, alienated spiritually and emotionally as well. I feel like a lot of us are super emotionally immature because we live in a society that like literally punishes you if you're emotional. You can't cry at work. You know, you can't like be emotional. You can't be an emotional person, even though we all are.
I feel the same way as you. I feel like for the past 2 years, um, I feel like I went through a depressing state last year. So if I would have went through it this year, I probably wouldn't be here today. But I went through a state where I was so emotionally drained, and I started to be more in tune with myself. So when I started to be more in tune with myself, I feel like my sensitivity level went so high, meaning I was so sensitive to every little thing. Like I could just feel every little thing, and I didn't like that. But I knew that that was just me being more in tune into my feelings and how I feel about everything going on. So I'm not as much as beating myself up when it comes to situations like that, because now I know that as much as everybody else is not in tune with me, I'm in tune with me. So I get me. I'll cry if I have to. I'll I'll cry about the stupidest thing, but the stupidest thing I get it. I can feel it, I'm more empathetic than anything. So it's just like now I'm starting to get things.
Amazing. Yeah, thanks for sharing. I think I wanna read this part from 18, just to so we can understand what alienation does to us and to our relationships and to. So it says on alienation. Alienation is a powerful centrifugal, genetic, psychological, and societal dynamic that over time drives human beings further and further away from effective, meaningful, emotionally supportive, and truthful communications amongst one another. This is why I can walk around the hood and tell Black people that they're being genocided, and they're not able to face that truth and be honest with me that and be honest that they can actually do something about this, or be honest that they are in a position that they can't do nothing about this. So yeah, it's tough, man. Alienation has really ruined us as a people. We come from like a society where, like, we have like really real communities where the whole community like cared about each other, you know. And now it's so hard to get non-white. No, it's so hard to get Black people, and particularly to support like each other, especially like the poor Black people, the lower income Black people, opposed to like the rich Blacks, because the rich Blacks think they have it made and think they're not being racially showcased. But if you understand racial and white supremacy, you will understand that most celebrities are just being racially showcased. They're allowed to have all those things, and they can all be taken away. And as if any white
Heartbeat.
supremacist chooses so. So, anyone else have anything to share from chapter 2? Anything they'd like to read? Anything that resonated with them? That's where I imagine you did. You were so excited to talk about chapter 2.
Yeah.
I am. I'm just collecting. I'm looking for the juicy stuff, you know?
Well, Marquise, I remember you said there was stuff about chapter 2 that didn't resonate with you.
It's just more about the
More extended definition.
you know, just how they were kind of alienated and who they are and their genetic makeup, and how that um, spreaded into like a European culture. That just kind of like, to me, I feel like I needed more fact checks for that, because I mean it's not something I don't want to like believe, or like I'm just on the fence about it because I'm not sure.
Oh yeah. I think it's time. Let's talk about it. I'm gonna read this part, and let's all talk about it. This is on page 23, and it says, "White skin is a form of albinism. There is no difference, microscopically speaking, between the white skin of a white person and the skin of a person designated as an albino. My central thesis here is that white-skinned peoples came to existence thousands of years ago as the albino mutant offsprings of black-skinned mothers and fathers in Africa. A sizable number of these black parents had produced, rejected, and then cast out the community of their genetic defective albino mutants. I'm a defective albino offspring to live away from the normal black skin pigmented population, with the awareness of their rejection and alienation as in leper colonies. So this is a theory. Um, she's not the only person who has concluded and has proved that. Well, it's not even proof. It's just like a fact and part of our reality that white skin is albinism. They just have like it's just not that commonly known, or it's just it is what it is. But I do not think that like this origin has to be like 100% accurate for the behaviors and thought patterns of white people to still like be manifested as they do because of alienation, anxiety, and narcissism. You know, I think the system of racial white supremacy still exists, and it has a shit ton of behaviors and symbols that we're gonna be able to decode soon. But it doesn't necessarily mean that this has to be the total origin story of like white skinned albino people. But yeah, anyone else want to give their thoughts on like um her theory of white people being genetic albino mutants born long ago from the original African peoples?
Um, I'll say that I have heard a lot of theories such as this. I don't know if anybody's familiar with the story of like Yakubu or Yakub.
Mm-hmm.
It's not Yurugu, yeah, Yakub or something.
Mm-hmm.
Um, but a lot of the theories are all kind of stem back from the fact that white people are albino mutants, I guess, and they are from black people, and black people were the first race. So I just thought that was interesting to see too, because a lot of people when they do touch on like the origin of like white people and white skin, there it always does come back from coming from black people and being casted outward because they couldn't survive under the intensity of the sun and stuff like that. But yeah, I just thought that was very interesting.
Yeah, I think it's a huge indication is their Christian origin story, born in sin, born with white skin, cast out of the Garden of Eden, cast out of Africa because of forever whatever reasons. Africa was a place with like the could be seen as Garden of Eden because Africa has literally all the world's wealth, an abundance of food, an abundance of wealth that's has been like being plundered for like 2,000 years plus now.
Can
So,
can I ask a question?
so the
Are they,
truth,
so they're talking about this symbolism here in between the philosophies of the Bible, and there is this their kind of alienation shining through the story of Adam and Eve, because they're saying like this is the fall of man, born of sin and all that kind of stuff. Are they saying like is that like an example of um the white man's like inner inadequacy is what I'm trying to say.
yeah, like yeah, she's saying that this can be decoded as such. Like if you like yeah, so it can be decoded as such because under she also has a theory where next chapter is called the unified field theory, which is that all behaviors then can be like analyzed and explained, like nothing just is unexplainable if you understand like the system in which we live in. You're able to apply the unified theory to a behavior and you're able to decode it. So like we'll see a lot of truth. Like, for example, white supremacy exists because of white people fear being genetically annihilated through their race going extinct because they're unable to produce melanin, and people who are able to produce melanin happen to be the global majority and also are able to produce at higher rates than white people. Google white fertility rates or white fertility issues, and you will see in Scandinavian countries they're having birthing issues, birth rate issues, and they're also giving grants to white people who are able to like have white children. And you will see that when abortion is talked about, they don't care when black people have abortion, but when a white woman trying to get rid of the white baby, oh, that's a no. That's a no because our numbers are historically bad, and it's only getting worse
Yeah.
because
Abortion is the number one killer of Black people, period. 95% of Black women get abortions.
Mm. Damn, I did not know that.
Yeah, that's why so many Black people, as far as like, oh, okay, I'm so against it because the woman, she was the head president of Planned Parenthood.
Oh yeah,
She
Target. Yeah.
she did that purposely to get rid of a lot of Black fetuses. You know, as a racist white woman. But
Yeah.
I mean, I didn't even know that it was like worse than like these murders, these Black on Blacks, these et cetera, et cetera. It's just the number one killer of us all, but to eliminate us.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, because we the
Yeah,
Black. Yeah, Ezra.
right.
Michael.
I just wanted to add, yeah, you guys were talking about abortions. There's a good point. They said last.
Also are like dying. Black women are dying giving birth in America. Like you're 3 times more likely to die during childbirth if you're a Black woman in America.
I was gonna ask something about abortion. Oh, so what do you guys think then about abortion? Do you think because it's okay? So white people are trying to get rid of abortion because it kills white babies, but they also use it to kill Black babies. So what do you guys think is gonna happen? Like, are they gonna get rid of it or are they gonna keep it?
I think they're gonna keep it. I mean, that's why you can't trust Democrats neither,
Very
because
true.
like
Very true.
they're trying to keep the abortion rate. But I mean, it's kind of like a hard give and take.
It is.
Because I was in those shoes. I almost did not have her. But I, as usual, I'm so conscious of what I'm doing that I just couldn't go through with it. Um, but I feel like, I mean, some women do have a right where it's a, hey, if your uncle raped you, if you know situations like that, if it's gonna traumatize you for the rest of your life, okay, yeah. You know, 9 times out of 10, it's always somebody in your family that's sexually assaulting you, or a friend, that's sexually assaulting you as a person. So, um,
But
it's just hard because a lot of women, they don't have reasons. I mean, oh, okay, the father's not gonna be there or whatever, whatever, whatever. So I don't want to have this baby. But I had a friend that didn't want her baby. She didn't want her baby because this was her third one and she was homeless and she didn't have anywhere for that baby to go, let alone the other two boys she had. But I told her, God not gonna give you as much as you can bear. You're gonna make it. Like, don't stress about it. And she ended up having her third kid. But now she's a nurse now.
oh,
So
okay.
she backed out of it.
Yeah, I want to
Interesting.
say
I mean, for me, I feel like I mean, if people can't have a kid and they can't provide emotional care for that kid, they should just not have the kid personally. But I feel like we have to like address like the conditions that are causing people to have abortions, which is most likely like economic instability, economic inequality, lack of resources, lack of housing.
and
I think
also
like those are really
That's
important.
what I kind of wanted to.
Also, can you mute Joseph's iPad?
yeah, I did. Well, I can't mute it because it doesn't have like an option. It just has no sound. Is it?
Okay, I will just call it. Right.
Oh no, I can't now. Okay. Yeah, but I was gonna say also, what has been programmed into the Black culture, this deadly thing we call Black culture, is the conditioning and normalization of Black teens, young Black women, bringing in um more like people who are going to be born and being inferiorized, and also young Black women who are like who very much should not be getting pregnant but get pregnant and then go get abortions, which I'm sure this happens very, very frequently. So we just live in a culture that plays with sex, and when you play with sex, the joke is the offspring. So you really it's really dangerous. I would advise no one bring in any more prisoners of war unless they fully understand the system and what they're bringing that baby to be subjected to. So that's my take on it on abortion. And also what Ash said is very correct. We just need to address what's causing 90% of black people to get abortion. That's a very like sad number, but I understand white supremacy has made the black race a
Yeah, we're getting attacked from both
yeah,
sides. Like if you think
yeah,
about it, just everything
yeah.
is just fucked up.
Either way it go, I mean, there's white people that's multi mating with a whole bunch of black people to the point where eventually in a couple of years it's gonna be all mixed race, which is kind of like all black. There'll be no point.
Now, but if you understand what white people how they conquer, how they divide us, is that historically they have used an entire group of mulatto race people to destroy nations and destroy empires. So no, this is why it's very dangerous to sexually engage with white people because you don't want to produce any people who are going to be born to be used in the genocide against their race.
Yeah.
And also just the whole like power dynamics. You should not even want to be with a white person if you're a non-white person. But a lot of people don't have this like this mindset. A lot of people are very are mentally ill, as we're going to learn. People are functionally
But what
mentally.
if it's like a person that feels like, oh, okay, it's love, 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 love. But some people feel like you're not gonna understand me. You're not gonna understand what I'm going through mentally, emotionally. So why would I be with you? Kind of thing.
Like it's like logically, I'm just gonna say I would imagine it's very hard to have to work, go into the world, deal with racism every day, and then come home and see a white person, and 9 times out of 10, I doubt that white person's gonna want to hear how shitty their
Yeah.
their racist system is, and that black person's not gonna have an avenue to talk about their reality. So I don't think that's a sustainable existence. You need to
Yeah.
be with someone who I think you need to be with a person who not only understands racism and white supremacy, but is trying to counter it and trying to produce justice. Or else the relationship is gonna have a bunch of problems. They're gonna have a bunch of nonsensical problems. They're gonna be arguing about liking people Instagram pictures. They're gonna be arguing about sending a tweet instead of like having serious talks about like what can we do, like what books can we read to really maybe get some solutions to this problem of racism and white supremacy. So
I
so
don't have them problems. I was just stating in
yeah.
general.
And someone brought that up in one of our other meetings that like at the end of the day we have to remember like love, but white people didn't use love to conquer the planet, so I don't think that's gonna help us
They
to
use a lot of things
yeah.
other than love.
Yeah. And the way they throw love around, like a lot of people have a really confused idea of love. If we really want to be honest here, and because yeah. Anyone
How
have
do
any?
you guys feel about all of these like white people talking about dark skin like in this chapter? There's like all these sections where white people, there's one that says the white color of skin is not natural to man, but that by nature he has a black or brown skin like our forefathers, the Hindus, and things like that. Like what came up when you guys read those lines?
I thought it was weird how they view us. or how they see us as just like individuals that are like something they never seen. It's just like I feel, hey, I never seen skin like yours. It's so dotty and you know, just
I loved it. I thought, well, this is like the truth shall set you free, and I think more white people just need to be honest about the system they live in and what feelings they may have about the system and their inner workings to maybe bring some solutions to the table, or maybe help in their own little so-called individual way. And I say so-called individual because the only individual is the black person, because we have no friends. Everyone else is like, rallied together, have their support systems and their communities and their but we're just out here just no unity, no collective, just no black self-respect, just really focus on things that are not going to liberate us. But so yeah, that's that alienation, narcissism, anxiety for you right there.
Yeah, I wanted to do like, oh, there's someone saying something.
Yeah, I was going to talk about Mark Twain's compliments in one of his essays or his responses. And I wanted to ask you guys how you felt about that, because we were talking about like the white ally and stuff like that, but Mark Twain and Moby Dick were writing essays about, comparing blackness to whiteness and how beautiful our scene was compared to white skin. So,
I want to decode something Ash said, something Ash quoted. He said that like white is not natural, it's not natural color, right? And I want to decode that because he's saying that white is not natural, which is indicating that the white race itself is a recessive trait. It's a mutant trait. It's a form of mutation. Also, white is not natural, but white people have the power to classify themselves something that does not exist. White people really don't have white skin. They have like more of like it's not really white. They don't look as white as this piece of paper this book is written on. That's what I'm trying to say. But they have the power to classify themselves as something that doesn't exist, and then they have the power to make everyone else want to attain to whiteness, want to get white straight hair, want to get blue contacts, Eurocentric ideas of beauty. So I think that is like a good example of how to like decode what their psyches are also saying.
Very true. Well,
anyone else like to share something from the book or answer Marquise's question?
Just to add to that, it's just so crazy like to like read this and listen to it here. It's just like, damn, they came a far way to really deny themselves, and like it just makes me think too, like, damn, it's part of you. Like denying yourself is part of you. So it's like, how can they really like value anything else? They don't even know who they are. So it's like nothing makes sense. And it's like they created this whole like image, this whole society, this whole thing in their head, and it like basically brought it to life. So now they don't even know anything. It's like their knowledge is like not knowledge. So it's very interesting.
yeah, like they're so obsessed with the fact that they can't produce color that they literally named their race a color. I find that very interesting. Because just like Swal was saying, they're not white, but they still like claim that color, even though they can't produce any color. Interesting.
Yeah, even the symbology of it in art, the white is the absence of color and black is the combination of all colors. And black people produce literally all colors on this planet. See Hidden Colors 2, the documentary. You will see black people living still, indigenous black people living still in all parts of the world, including Europe. So that should tell you something about, Black people producing all colors.
I think it just goes back to they hated it themselves so much they project all that hate against us. So
Very true.
Yes. You get it.
Let's see.
Everything's a projection. We live in this chaos because their mind is chaotic. You know.
I wanted to do like a little exercise. Can you give me host so I can share my screen so?
Yeah. Where are you?
Can you guys see my screen?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's starting to share.
Okay. Cool. Wait, it's sharing?
So
It's,
did you hit the like squares? Did the okay share yet? I know.
yeah, not sharing.
Okay, cool. So yeah, so she goes through like the DSM whatever number from the American Psychiatric Association.
Mm-hmm.
And she goes through like each of the criteria for like the narcissistic personality disorder. And we did it in a different group. I thought it would be kind of like interesting to like read through each one and kind of see where in our lives we've experienced like the white people in our lives experience like showing this type of like behavior. So I can go first. For me, well, like a grandiose sense of self-importance or uniqueness. For me, like that resonates a lot because white people literally have changed the maps to make Africa smaller and like make Europe bigger. And like they're always the ones to say we're the first ones to invent everything. We're the first ones to start anything. They have this idea that like without us or without them, we wouldn't even have any sense of like culture or technology. So yeah, that one like really resonated with me.
I want to go. I want to read D. Response to criticism, indifference of others, or defeat with either cool indifference or with marked feelings of rage, inferiority, shame, humiliation, or emptiness. And it reminds me of that party I was at, and Ash said the word white supremacy one time, and this white guy just like he started to break down. He just really it just really like shook him to his core, and I was like, it was just really like bizarre. Anyone else want to?
Yeah, I can go. I'm gonna do. It says two of the following, but I'll pick one, and then Ezekiel will pick the other. But number one, I saw lack of empathy, inability to recognize how others feel, is because they kind of white people can't recognize how they feel or themselves. So how can they even recognize someone else? So it goes to like this disconnect with reality, with the environment, with just like people in general, that it's difficult to find a connection with others. And then on the verse side of myself, I find it so easy for me. Like I'm always empathetic. Like it's like in my nature. I don't think twice about it. Even someone can be so rude and so mean to me, but I still always find that one thing. Like, oh, it's okay. Like let me find the good in this. Let me see. Let me feel for you. You know. So very interesting.
I wanted to read one. Okay. I wanted to add too, with her empathy, you see that all throughout like politics. Very like, politics is just running with lack of empathy. I was gonna say C, exhibitionist. I think that exhibitionistic. I think that is like all lives matter and white lives matter. I think that's that entire movement. Requires constant attention and admiration. Just, always need to be recognized. You can't focus on anybody else. You
Yeah.
always need to keep them in mind. And you always need to be talking positively about white people. They don't like it when you talk about them negatively.
Yeah, well, thanks for saying that, Ezekiel. Because I just had like a what they have a what about me mentality, you know? It's like, what about poor little me? You know, it's like, oh my God, that just clicked. Jesus. Wow.
I wanted to do E2 of the following. Number 2, entitlement, expectation of special favors with reaction or surprise and anger when others don't comply. I've seen so many of them in public feel like because they are whatever they think they are, that they expect so much, and if it's not given, especially at there's some people see respect as respect as equal, but a lot of white people see respect as I'm the authority and you're like this person that's supposed to listen to me. That's the kind of respect I want. I want authority kind of respect. So I just see so many just people that feel like they're so entitled to things that don't belong to you, or just why do you feel so entitled that because of the color of your skin, or you just feel like, oh, I'm the only white person here, so let's roll out the red carpet and put puddles of flowers for you. No, it just don't work like that in life.
Yeah, it's like the Karen mentality.
Yeah. Oh,
Like,
yes.
okay, everywhere on the globe, white people will receive special privileges and will expect special privileges because they're white. I'm gonna give you a small little tab bit. Okay, and South Africa, the black farmers, they don't have farms, they have fields, so black South African is growing food, providing food for his community. They don't call it a farm, they call it a field. But the white farmers, they call their fields farms. You know why? Because it's white, that's it. So it's the same amount of land, everything, same kind of crop. Only difference is one is white. So this treatment, this mistreatment is gonna happen, is happening globally across the globe.
That's kind of true because I feel like when people grow plants in their yard, especially trees, they have the people, I don't know what they're called, they come out and they inspect your things, your tree, to see if it could even be there or it can grow. Like, they restrict you when it comes to like growing your own things too.
Mhm. Yeah, and that goes with their need to control people, and just really put us in an inferior, powerless position, which we are constantly in.
Yeah.
Anyone else want to share from the list?
I really like preoccupation with fantasies of unlimited success, power, brilliance, beauty, and ideal love. And I also like, well, not like, but also am drawn to the entitlement because I've experienced it, so many times with, the white counterpart. So I'm trying to figure out like how I could fit in like a bit of like the law enforcement aspect, because I've had so many run-ins with the law. I'm just trying to figure out how this narcissistic behavior could fall into some of these categories.
Well, police officers don't even follow the law. Well, that's the first
They
thing.
feel entitled all the time that you have to get your hands up. You have to have me search your
Wait a minute.
house.
Yeah,
Yes.
Entitlement.
I think for E, number 3 too, takes advantage of others to indulge his own desires for self and aggrandizement with this, like, that's cops, you know, like getting like pleasure out of harassing,
Yeah.
like killing,
Non-white people.
yeah, non-white people, like without care for their humanity, just because it gets them off whatever weird power trip that they're on.
Remember, they're there to protect the whites and police the blacks. So
True. Facts. I wanted to ask, what do you guys? How would you guys explain B? You know, I think to me, I think I
I would
would
think
say
of like
it's
movies, like as far as like it's
yeah,
always the white little girl that not a white girl, but the white woman that's
American
fonder to
Beauty.
be saved. Yeah, like you get that Americanized. As far as like beauty, they will always get to the lighter tone of different races. They will never get to the darker tone of different races. You know, just those
yeah.
kind of ball games.
And
So
I think the epitome of A and B is the movie Scarface, a grand sense of self-importance and or uniqueness, preoccupation with fantasies of limited success. That movie Scarface. He's like, you're never gonna see another bad guy like me. I'm like, thousands of bad guys like you who just who mistreat people for their benefit. It's like that happened in 24/7. So it's just like, you know, I think that movie is and that movie definitely made by white people for sure.
Oh,
Facts.
you know, I want to
Just
say
like
like
Sopranos.
Bodyguard.
The
Bodyguard.
Whitney Houston movie?
But I haven't seen that. I haven't seen
The
that one.
bodyguard, you know, she had a white
What?
bodyguard. He
Well, I
was
just
her savior, you know.
oh, you're talking about the Morgan Freeman
Whitney
movie?
Houston and
Yeah,
what's his
Kevin
name?
Costner.
Kevin.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh,
We should watch that movie for a movie night, actually, because that movie would be super interesting to analyze the racial
well, yeah,
dynamic.
Mhm.
yeah, I'm down to watch it. I have to give it a trailer watch, but it sounds like most movies can be decoded, and most movies will support racism and supremacy.
It would
Yeah.
just be nice to see Whitney Houston too.
Yeah. Just to cry.
But I think B is interesting too when you think about like manifest destiny and the fact that we're taught something so genocidal as like kids. I think it's like it's that preoccupation with like the fantasy of like conquering and taking over all. So I thought that B reminded me of manifest destiny a lot, like with unlimited success, like the idea that, like, I remember, what is it? Winston Churchill says the sun never sets on the British Empire because they had colonized so many countries that, you know, it's happy hour sometime there, like, which is really crazy.
Crazy.
It's like, and it reminds me of Jeff Bezos. Like Jeff Bezos is literally having Amazon and everything, not because he even wants all this money, but because he thinks Earth is uninhabitable and he wants to set up space colonies. And that's why he has all this money saving up so that all humans can leave Earth, because Earth is just like, you know, they've ruined it. Like,
White people.
yeah, exactly. And it's the idea of like unlimited access to whatever they want.
That's crazy to say that
Yeah.
about genocide and manifest destiny, because I have a theory that while we're being taught these things and we're going these things, wow, these things are awful to white kids, their families, that's my uncle, that's my grandpa, like he did what he did was wonderful. Like that's what they're going around saying.
That goes back to my claim about The Sopranos I made that other day. When you just watch that stuff, like Christopher Columbus Day, and
I
how
hate
white
that
people.
show, by the way.
Zeke, it's a good show to decode, bro. Stop being a hater. Anyways, you can literally watch that show. They're talking about Christopher Columbus. People are like, this guy's awful, but they're like, he's Italian. We're proud of him. We love this guy. Like, you guys can have Italian Pride Day. They're like, no, we want Christopher Columbus. I'm like, okay. Straight white people. But yeah, crazy.
Number 4, relationships characteristically vacillate between extremes of over idealization and devaluation. So this is why white people love being able to say, I have a black friend, but like you have a black friend for this very moment, for when you're outed as a racist, you can bring up Like your black friend, I guarantee you don't know your black friend's probably favorite color. You don't know their ambitions. You don't know what like what they feel like they're on this planet for. You just care. You probably know their surface level, like what they do. So I think that's really important because I'm sure we all can recount that type of relationship, or we can see that in many other areas of people activity.
Yeah, I definitely see it in a lot with like white women who have mixed kids and then they fetishize their like mixed kid is makes me feel very uncomfortable. Like they're
Weird, just
really like,
weird.
yeah, yeah. And I've
Yeah,
met
you have a
people
whole
who
family of them.
met people who said that they literally wanted a kid that was mixed, and it makes me wonder like, why do you want a kid that looks like that, like that looks almost black, like, yeah.
Like, why is that a thing for you?
And
But
women love to be like, oh, all the black guys want me. And girl, they just want you because,
they've been trained real well by white supremacy.
Or how about they want to be black
yeah,
mothers because black mothers are kind of considered or are considered strong.
yeah, or it's
Maybe that goes
considered
back to
the
that self-hate. Yeah, maybe.
superior ones.
Yeah, it manifests in many ways.
Or I'm
Like
Yeah,
gonna get my hair braided.
yeah, but
And he's gonna, like, my friend, she went to Vegas and it was all these, mixed couples. These white girls was like holding on tight to their black men. She was like, no offense, but I don't want none of them. I don't know why you feel like you're so scared or something.
it's like white women, they get black men to acquire that melanin, that genetic power, but also racist man, racist woman. So racist woman will also use that black man to do what you just said, Carice, to energetically attack black women, because when she's like clenching, she's like, hey, say, haha, look, I got me a nigger, is what she's telling you, as I got mine, is what she's communicating, and she wants you to get something from you from that. But just understand that poor black man has been, like, further imprisoned, further, because now he's literally sleeping with the enemy. What? So he's experiencing massive confusion, massive terrorization, massive abuse, and
That relationship definitely
self-hate.
isn't founded on anything worthwhile. That black man's not gaining anything from that relationship because I mean, from the beginning, that woman was just using him and objectifying him. So
Yeah,
I mean,
there's
I feel like they're using each other. Basically, he wants a woman that's okay, like an okay girl, and she wants somebody that's cute and eye candy on the arm.
yeah, it's actually really interesting because there's a lot of alt-right white supremacist guys who marry Asian women, and it's like a big thing, and like they will have their Asian partners like talk about or like talk shit towards the like Asian men and hate Asian men together. And it's like this really messed up, like kind of evil dynamic where they're like, I've seen Trump supporters who have Asian wives, and it's like, what? But it makes sense when you think about the amount of like self hate that you have, and attaching yourself to whiteness will somehow make you feel like you're not, a part of a class of people that are being like genocided. Yeah. Okay, well, I'm gonna stop sharing my screen now.
that goes back to what Paul was saying about using a whole race of mulattoes to white supremacy use a whole race of mulattoes to conquer the world. You know, today they're still using various groups of people. That think just because they aren't as dark as some of us, they don't experience racism.
yeah,
So,
yep. Let's look at the caste system. The is a wonderful gift given to the Indians by white supremacists, which says that the darkest you are, the worse you're going to be, be treated, which is white supremacy 101. So they literally have the darkest race, well, the darkest caste is the people who are like jet black, and they're called the untouchables. So, and this is in India, a people where like a country where there's not even that many white people, but we still see white supremacy just having a good old time over there with people being mistreated on basis of color. So,
Yeah, like even during the Haitian Revolution, they got mixed people to fight on the side of the white farmers against the black slaves who were trying to free themselves. So like white people will use whatever strategies they can, unfortunately.
Those poor light skinned people just being used and abused. They don't even
yeah,
have
but
anything about
they don't have to be tools and used. They could definitely like you have melanin. You've had melanin. You're
it.
able to. You have like the power to absorb truth. And if you don't want to live in if you want to live in truth, then you won't find yourself on like the enemy side. I guarantee that. But if you've been like terrorized and like conditioned well enough, you don't care about truth, and you're not. Then you are a tool, a mulatto tool. Are we able to understand that alienation, anxiety, and narcissism is at the core of just the white experience, and it's why it's so prominent in our experience because it's a projection from them.
Becoming very clear that when, there are a lot of black people acting European, but that the narcissism and all this and the alienation definitely shows when black people are like alone with other black people. Not when white people are in the room, their narcissism is showing bright. But when black people are alone in the room by themselves, some of the other black people are projecting that.
Dang. Yeah, and I think it's really important to understand this stuff because once we start like really decoding it and breaking it down to what it means, because we're still like barely getting our foot with understanding white people and this system. But I want to read this from page 27, and it says, contrary to Western philosophy, there are no accounts of skin pigmented peoples and their basic religions and or philosophical texts conceiving themselves as being born in sin or viewing their general apparatus and therefore their genes as the basis of sin and evil. So white people say they're born in sin, right? Which is an indication of like evil. So like the truth will find its way. Because I think it's chapter 19, it talks about evil and like the in truth and how there's literally like how there's frequencies of energy. Truth in itself is an energy, and that is how we're able to like decode the system. Because white people, when they're making this stuff, they don't have the intention of putting these symbols and these messages all the time in there. It just happens to it just goes in there. So through this text, we were able to learn how to decode, and it's super important to just keep in mind and do read the material, so we're able to understand that like it's our duty to decode our reality, the things around us. You know, if not, we're doing ourselves harm and a disservice. Any
Yeah, it's
comments?
pretty crazy that alienation and narcissism is all over their religion and all of these things. A lot of that went unnoticed up until now.
Mm. Oh, you know, one thing that we didn't talk about was their relationship with the dog in here. I thought that was pretty eye-opening. At least I know I felt some type of way towards my dog after a while. I mean Zeke's dog. I was like, dang, Enzo, white man's best friend, huh? And then on top of that, dog spelled backwards. It's God. And I was like, wow, they are really out here doing this. This is their culture.
Yeah, see, just that simple decoding. And I also was able to decode recently that, like, you know, in order to like live, in order to exist in this world, we have to participate in this evil, unjust system. So live backwards is evil. In order to live, we have to be evil, and white people through their nature is evil. So I'm just like, proof is in the pudding. Like these this terrible white language we all have to participate in. It's just
crazy. Mentally ill. Mental illness.
So I think we maybe get into closing comments about chapter 2. Anyone would like to start us off by maybe sharing your biggest takeaway from chapter 2?
Chapter 2 for me, like I said a little bit earlier, way more relatable content. Just puts a lot of stuff into perspective, you know. So I really enjoyed chapter 2 so far. I think I've read up to chapter 5, but yeah, chapter 2 is probably my most memorable one so far, for sure. Puts a lot of stuff into perspective for me, at least. Narcissism, all that stuff. I really enjoyed that little side. We didn't talk about that, but that little Greek mythology story. You know, white people in their Greek mythology. So, very good stuff.
Yeah. My closing comment is gonna be this right here. I want to share this right here.
Yeah.
Do you guys see this? Were you guys able to understand this diagram? Well, if not, if not, I just want to break it down. Okay, so like here at the bottom, this is the source, right? Imagine it's the source. Imagine these dots. Okay, this is sports. You know, this is the killing of black people, and this dot is poverty. This dot is war. This dot is, you know, reality TV of black people acting a fool. This dot is gentrification. They're like, they don't seem connected. Actually, they're not even connected at this point. But if you're able to like look deeper into what's going on, you see that, oh, what, they all come from the same source. They all are connected. So this is what this book is trying to is trying to teach us, is that everything is everything related, and everything can be identified and explained. So yeah, moving forward, I'm really excited to read this book for everyone, to decode and to begin this journey of decoding and countering racism. Closing thoughts, closing comments, chapter 2.
I know for my closing comments, just thinking about it after reading it, it's just, and after discussing it here, is like really just fight the urges of, not even the urge, just like be able to like, I'm understanding more about why white people do what they do, you know, and then why alienation is a thing, and anxiety and narcissism is actually a thing, and where it came from and how it started, and why so many black people feel these emotions or these ways. So it's kind of interesting of how like they brought it here, placed it on us, and it's like, okay, now you deal with it, you know, as if we did it or we created it. So it's kind of interesting um to understand this. And one of the other things too that I read, I think it was in chapter 1. I know that we're on chapter 2 now, but how race is like institutional or even like an organization type thing. So even just thinking about that, it's like, yeah, no. I don't know. I'm still on the fence about the highlight thing. Like, there's no way. Like thinking of it, you know. So yeah.
Thank you for that. Anyone else like to share, or I'm gonna adjourn?
Does anyone want to be added to the WhatsApp group that's not already in the WhatsApp group for the book club?
Yeah, I'm down.
I don't know if I am, but you could put me down. I
Okay.
had downloaded it, but I don't know.
Also, this Thursday, we're going to have a movie showing. It's at 12. It's Daughters of the Dust, which is a Julie Dash movie. If you ever seen like Lemonade, etc., like a lot of the inspiration for Beyonce's newest stuff comes from that movie. So it's a pretty good movie. It's about the Gullah people in Louisiana.
Interesting. I'll be looking forward to that. I'll be there. You sure? I thought it was at 5. Is that 12?
Yeah, because the London people.
Okay. Okay, that's cool. I mean, I don't mind. I'll be there.
Cool.
You'll see me there too.
Mhm.
Well,
And like,
off-
feel free to invite anyone who's not in the book club to the movie showing if you want to.
Ash, can you make me host the admin, the back host again, please?
I'm not host. I made you host.
Oh, you made the wrong one, host. It's supposed to be the admin.